All right. Welcome back, guys. We got another edition of the Heads or Tails podcast. Dan Hunt here. We're excited to be here with Meraki Performance in collaboration with CatchMark SportsNet. Guys, this is an exciting thing being back here, right? I think we are on like episode 6 here and just started an idea of how can we collaborate, provide, more value and really talk about, how to equip not only individual athletes, but also teams with some mental emotional resiliency, some mental toughness, some increasing their capacity to withstand the competition and the stress that they face. We constantly hear in the work that we do that there is not enough resources out there. And so that's why we did this, guys. And so I'm really excited to be back again here and sharing again with more of along the lines of what we've been working on. We've been really talking through this idea of mindset and these different pillars. And we're going to dive into really this third pillar that we talk about when we really coach and teach on this mindset. But a couple first things I just want to say is one, if you have enjoyed this, if this has benefited you, I know we talk about this at the end of the show. We just ask, share this with friends, share this with teammates, share this with other coaches and leaders. Again, we're providing this because we want to help add value, equip you, and really encourage you, because athletics should be a space where not only athletes, but also coaches, everybody involved can really continue to develop and grow and just find enjoyment through this, right? There's just so many benefits to being a part of a team, being a part of an athletic group, really striving to be the best you can be in something that you enjoy to do. We love to make sports and everything about winning. And yes, I'm the first one. I want to win. I'm very, very competitive. At the end of the day, though, there's going to be losers. We don't all win, but we can find development. We can find growth. We can find things that we can learn and take into life that will benefit us forever. And not only that, but that we can give to other people. And so I really try to come from an approach, and we're really trying to come from an approach of taking everything you can out of your athletic experience, getting every little bit of what you can, and then how do you translate it into being a student, being a coworker, an employee, somebody, owning a business, but how does this translate into life? And so like we talked about with heads or tails, there's two sides of the coin. There's the individual and really their makeup and their mindset and their mental skills. But then there's the alignment with the entire team, the overall mentality or program of the athletic team. And so, yes, we need to focus on one, but there's also the other, and there has to be alignment. It can't be two separate things. There's got to be alignment. And when there's alignment, there is an exponential force that's created. And I think that's a piece of how we break through limits, how we begin and we're able to do things that we didn't believe was possible, both individually and as a team. And when it comes to the mindset, we've been walking through this process, but when it comes to a mindset, there's really 3 aspects we've been talking about. We really zoomed in on. And the first is you have to have a performance enhancing view of yourself. You have to have a strong sense of who you are, some real objective self-awareness of the things you're not so good at, the things you need to develop in, right? But there needs to be this strong sense of self. You need to have a good sense of self. And we get tied up all the time in this positive, make sure you're positive. The reality is that it's not necessarily positive or negative. It's really viewing it from a place of, is it performance enhancing? I'll be the first one to tell you, there has been seasons in my life where things that I view myself, they haven't been positive. There hasn't been great. There's been times where it's that aspect of you is not good. It hasn't been positive, but I can tell you that view has been performance enhancing. And here's why. I was able to be real and look in the mirror and say, that's something you need to do better at. And I didn't lie to myself and say, well, that's not positive. I need to go away from that. I have continued to strive to create a view of myself that is holistic. It's the whole thing, right? But it's also performance enhancing. I don't look at things and go, man, that's just who you are. You're a piece of crap. No. I look at things and go, that's something you might not like about yourself. Let's do something about it. That's performance enhancing. And we need to have a strong view of ourselves. And we need to have people around us. That's the other piece, view of others. We need to have people around us that are able to view some of these blind spots, are able to view some of these things that we don't see, but also we believe that in them speaking to us or challenging us or pushing us past what we believe is possible, they're doing it for our benefit, right? And so if we don't have a performance enhancing view, or we don't have a good view of the people around us or the view of others, it can diminish our performance. It can fracture that mindset, okay? And then finally, what we're going to be diving into is the experiences. We have to have, and really what I would say is the right size, or be able to fit and be able to say, hey man, this experience is this, right? And be able to right size an experience. So often we have an experience and we amplify it because of our emotion or because of things that are not rooted in truth. And we amplify this one thing to make it something so much bigger than it is. And in somebody that wants to develop an unbeatable mindset, right? This extremely tough mindset has to have the ability to right size their experiences, to really put them in their proper place. And we're going to walk through some of those things. And so as we get going, before we really jump in, I want to talk through some shifts that we're going to be making. As we've been looking at this, what we've called a podcast, we've realized that, the primary mode or means of this whole show has been through video. And so we're really going to start shifting and calling this like a show. This is actually a show, a YouTube show that we're putting on in collaboration with CatchMark. And what you're going to see is you're going to begin to see us really string together a lot of content, a lot of information that's going to flow from this show. We might tweak the way we present things or we bring things to the show, but we're also going to start exploring, how do we collaborate with some people? I know we started out asking, hey, if you have a question, like chime in, let us know. How can we answer some of these questions? We really want to engage you, and we want to also bring in and collaborate with some people. So we're gonna shift the approach a little bit, and maybe from your end it's not going to be a big deal, but for our end it's going to help a lot with streamlining things, but also allowing us to be more creative in collaborating and different things like that. So that's some cool things that are to come. But I really want to jump into this idea again of the mindset in our experiences. And here's the thing with our experiences is it's a matter of perspective. You and I can experience the exact same thing and view it in two totally different ways, all right? Based on the story we tell ourselves. And if you don't know this, like, we're a lot about how do we scale our biology? How do we use our biology and leverage it for our benefit? Well, here's a piece of our biology. This is just who we are as people, is we create narratives. When we experience things, we create stories behind them, all right? And I know people, no, I don't do that. Be real with yourself. If something takes place and there's a gray area or a void of communication, the first thing we do is we go in and we go, oh man, this person did this because this, without ever talking to them, right? We're driving down the road and somebody doesn't turn their blinker on and just merges over. And we immediately start driving narrative. This person is this. They're not a good driver. And they're probably worse things than that. But we drive this narrative not really knowing that, hey, maybe they just didn't see you, all right? Maybe they've had a bad morning. They were distracted or something. Maybe they just got a phone call that a loved one was in the hospital, and now they're merging over to get off the highway to go see their loved one, right? Like there is a story there, but we drive a narrative. And what I want you to understand, and why I'm giving this example, is that your mindset sets the narrative. Your mindset a lot of times sets that narrative. And so if you have a specific mindset, especially around experiences that you have, and we're going to talk through some specific experiences or some specific things when it comes to experiences, but if you have this view or this default narrative, all right, that this happened to me, that things aren't fair, that, I don't like when this happens, or when they say this, when we start driving that narrative, understand that that's performance diminishing, that does not put you in the greatest place of potential. That removes the autonomy, or your control of this situation and puts it in other people's hands. And if you want to be at your best, a critical piece of being in the flow state, of peak performance, of motivation, is you have to have autonomy. You need to have a sense that you're in control of this, all right? And so understand, going back, that your view of this, the way you view the things in your experiences, is the kickstart, is the foundation to the narrative that you end up driving. And so I want you to reflect right now. What is the narrative you're driving around an area in your life, an area in your athletic performance, in an area of, maybe you competing, whatever it may be? Maybe there's a narrative there. Maybe you've kept hitting this wall, and the narrative you're telling yourself just keeps pushing you into that wall, keeps driving you into that wall, keeps removing the autonomy and just building this huge wall in front of you that you've gotten to the point that you said, man, I just don't know what's next. I just don't know if I can do that anymore. All right. Understand that it's your mindset and your view of that experience that's driving the narrative. All right. And so what we want to do is we want to develop a mindset. We want to be able to develop a view of our experiences that are factually based, that can right size these things and can make them just manageable. All right. It's okay if it appears to be a little scary. It's okay if it appears to be to us like, oh, man, this is going to be tough. That's fine. But we need to be able to really chunk that out and say, hey, man, this wall from this view is way too big. It seems like it's unmanageable. What can I do to step back, make it manageable? And what is the thing within my control that I can take action on? All right. That's what we want to begin to do. And one of the first things we want to talk about, especially when it comes to experiences, is stress. All right. Oftentimes when I go into schools or I work with teams, the first thing I'll ask when we bring up this topic is I'll say, how many of us have been told by parents, by coaches, by teachers, by people in our lives that stress is bad? How many people? Right? Raise your hand. And over again, I see majority of people. And you're probably somebody right now going, yep, that's me. Like I've been told over and over again, stress is bad. Stress is not good. Here's the thing. All stress is not bad. We need to know the facts, and we need to put that in a proper place. Because the thing is that there is an appropriate amount of stress that you need. You need this challenge. You need this pressure. You need this stress to be able to activate and get into your performance zone. You need to activate and be able to be at your peak performance, right? You need the challenge, okay? The problem is when the stress is on and the stress is overwhelming and the stress is never ending, like it just feels like it keeps going, and it's undue stress. You can't avoid it. You can't get out from underneath it. You can't get a release from it, all right? That's when it's called distress. That's when it's bad. That's when it's overwhelming and you get into that fear, anxiety, and worry, okay? And the thing is that even when you're in that space, there is strategies, there's things that you can do to right size that and alleviate or release some of that, okay? But I want you to understand right away, if you're somebody that is trying to avoid stress, if you're somebody that's trying to avoid, like, when I get this discomfort, I'm trying to avoid it, like, understand that if you want to be at your best, that's the pathway. That's the way to it. You have to be able to not only endure, but leverage that to keep moving forward. If you're somebody that's like, yo, I just want to be carefree. I just want to have a fun time. I just want to do this. I want to be stress-free. Like, okay, maybe some of the things you're doing in athletics might not be for you. Because if you're trying to get that college scholarship, if you're trying to, compete and win at a championship level, but you want to be carefree and not deal with stress and don't want to deal with discomfort, like there's misalignment there and you're going to be extremely frustrated. You're going to find yourself extremely frustrated. And more than likely, you're going to take that frustration out on other people and point the finger at coach, teammates, this circumstance, the ref, the crowd, the weather that day, I'm tired. You're going to create a lot of frustration there. So understand that, you have to be able to say, hey, if this is the thing that I want, then I'm willing to go through this. I'm willing to endure this. This is a part of the process. Get it? Like I'm setting my mindset up to say, this is a part of the process. All right. This is a part of me becoming the best version of myself, or this is a part of me competing at my best. All right. You need the stress. So we gotta right size that. We got to be able to root that in fact and go, I need this stress. This stress and this pressure is something that I need that allows me to be at my best. All right. The other piece is fear. And I see this all the time. And I want you to understand, one, when we talk about fear, I'm not talking about physical fear. I'm not talking about physically fearful of something, of being hurt. That's not what I'm talking about, all right? What I'm talking about is, again, the discomfort, the psychological fear a little bit, the what are people going to think about me, the fear of failure. Like, those are the types of fear that I'm talking about. And I want you to understand that there's a reason why you run from fear, okay? And one of the biggest reasons why we run from fear, yes, is to protect ourselves. But the thing is that when we get fearful, when we experience something or we focus on something that we're fearful, we don't like the feeling. Be real with yourself. You don't like the feeling that elicits. You don't like the way that your body feels, the way that your mind goes. We don't like that. And that's perfectly fine. But this is what we do. As human beings, we typically move away from pain quicker than we move towards pleasure. We will run as fast as we can away from pain and discomfort, more so than we'll run towards pleasure. And so understand, when there's things that you're fearful of failure, of the judgment, of the ridicule, of being out there and being like, making a mistake. Okay, what are people going to say? When you're fearful of those things, if you focus on that, you're going to do everything you can as quickly as possible to get out of it, to run from it. And this is what I want you to flip that and be able to right size this, is that fear can be an informer. That same feeling that you get, you can use it to zoom in on what you want, and then also to be the energy or the push to take actions to get there. Most people, when they are fearful, run. What I'm challenging you to do is to have the mindset that fear can be an informer. It's not going to dictate what I do. And when I experience this fear, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to zoom in on the actions that I need to take to keep me moving forward. And this is a skill that you can develop over time, and it compounds. Now, the first time you do this is going to feel really, right? Like, you're not going to like the feeling. Well, the reality is you can run from it and then be put back in that situation and feel that feeling all over again, or you can run through it. You can develop through it and get to the other side and keep moving forward, and maybe not experience that exact feeling again, or experience it in a different way, closer to the goals that you have set. All right. For me, I don't know about you, I'm competitive, right? I want to keep getting and being the best I can be in all aspects of my life. So when there is things that I am fearful of, I want to zoom in, I want to take action, I want to move through it, and I want to get closer to where I want to be. And I would much rather deal with more fear closer to what I want to be in a better version of myself than get caught in this trap of running away and coming back. That's the habit that I see people fall into all the time. And this isn't just athletics. This starts in athletics, absolutely. And it can get rooted in, and it can become a habit in athletics. But I see this all the time in life in general. And so here's an opportunity in something that you fully love. You love athletics. You love the sport that you're playing, or the multiple sports you're playing. Here's a thing. You are highly motivated to be the best you can be, and you can use that fear at times to keep pushing through. And so what is the thing maybe that you're fearful of? What is the thing that you keep coming to that wall and you keep looking at it and you keep running away from it? You keep coming to the edge and going, I don't know. And you keep stepping back. All right. And I'll give you an example of a real life story. So I have, for a long time, when this would be brought up, I would say, heck no, right? People would say, hey man, would you ever jump out of a plane? I would say, absolutely not. And I think I've shared this story before. I'd say, absolutely not. There's no way in heck I would ever do that, right? And it began to be this thing that I was fearful of. Rightfully so. There is a lot of physical risk in this. So I will be the first one to tell you, I'm not advocating for anybody to go and do this. But long story short, this was something that I was fearful of. All right. And so about a year ago, I was going through and really applying this principle in my life, right? What are the things? And I had been applying it for a while, but what are these big things that I'm fearful of? What are these things that I keep running from? What are these things? And I realized that this idea of jumping out of a plane, this experience of jumping out of a plane is something that deeply scares me. But if I am able to do that, if I bring myself to be able to do that and experience that, that would be such a liberating, freeing thing to be able to say, this is something that I deeply feared, but I moved through it and I went to the other side and I experienced it. And so here's how I did that. I decided these were 3 action steps I was going to take. And granted, was I fearful? Yes. Was my heart racing? Absolutely. But I told myself, I desire the freedom on the other side more so than my safety. All right. And so I said, I am going to show up and put on the harness. I'm going to get on the plane. And when that green light happens, when they put that green light on, I'm going to step to the edge of the plane and I'm going to step off. I committed to 3 things. I made decisions before I ever drove to the place to skydive. I made those 3 decisions, pre-decisions, that I will do these 3 things and I will let the results be what they are. All right. And again, I know this is an extreme example. Okay. But I can tell you this. I made those 3 decisions. I committed and I took action on those 3 decisions. And I jumped out of that plane and it was one of the most exhilarating, peaceful things I've ever done. When I jumped out of that plane, looking around and having just this stillness in me, in this overwhelming peace that I overcame the exact thing that I was so fearful of. I made it to be this huge thing in my mind that the whole time I'd be free falling, that I'd be freaking out, that I'd be losing my mind, that I drove this narrative like we talked about. I drove this narrative. I had this mindset around this, that this would be the worst thing that could ever happen to me, right? And the thing is that when I experienced it, it was totally different. When I stepped out of that plane, it was totally different, all right? And what I did to do that, again, was I committed to 3 things. I committed to action steps, and I used the fear to zoom me into those things, and I stayed focused on those things, and I did those things. And the confidence level that I have within myself and to face the things that are scary in my life has gone through the roof, right? There's still things that, yes, at times I get freaked out. Like I constantly am doing things that I've never done before and putting myself in spaces that scare the crap out of me. But I know that that's the next step towards where I want to go, all right? And I share these things because I want you to understand that these things apply not only in athletics, but they apply in life. If you begin to develop the skill and the habit of zooming in on action steps that you can take despite the environment around you, despite the crazy circumstances, despite the things that it might be unfair, you might be tired, right? Your back might be up against the wall. You might be extremely discouraged, right? There might be all these things all around you that the odds are against you, but you say, nope, these are the things that I committed to. These are the things that I'm willing to do. These are the action steps that I said beforehand that I am going to take because I know and I trust that those are going to help me get to where I want to go. That's what I'm challenging you to do right now, to use that fear as that zoom in to those action steps, all right? And with all of this, it's shifting our mindset, our perspective around the experiences that we have, that we look in view of these things and we say, how can this enhance my performance? How can this continue to help me move forward? Because what people default to is protection. What we default to is running away from it. What we default to is oh, nope, I'm not supposed to do that because I don't like this feeling. But what we want to do as competitors, if we want to have the unbeatable mind, if we want to be able to take every situation, experience, everything that we do and leverage it for our benefit, then we have to be able to view these experiences, no matter what they are, in a way that we go, there is something I can use, there is something I can leverage, there is something I can take from this and move forward. And so as I share a lot of this is my action steps for you today. All right. I want you to take action on this. I don't want you to jump on this podcast or this show now, right? I don't want you to listen in, because nothing changes if nothing changes. If you're not taking things and saying, this is what I'm willing to do about it, then you're going to wake up tomorrow in the same condition you were today, and still frustrated, still upset, still not a step closer to where you want to be, right? We don't want that. What we want you to do is we want you to take action towards where you want to go. And so the action I really, really want you to take today is I want you to make some pre-decisions. As I shared that experience of jumping out of that plane, what I did was I pre-decided what I was going to do when the environment, the pressure, all of these things mounted, when I knew my heart would start racing, when I knew the thoughts, the thinking started flooding, when I knew all these things were happening. Before they happened, I made the decision that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And what I want you to do today is I want you to find out, to evaluate, to establish, identify, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. I want you to identify 3 decisions, pre-decisions you're willing to make every single day that puts you in the best position possible to get the most out of each day, right? I want you to make 3 decisions, okay? Here's my 3 decisions. 1, I'm ready. I have made the decision that I'm going to be ready every single day. I'm going to make sure that every opportunity that presents itself, that I'm in the best possible position, and I am not going to say no. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump out of that plane. I'm going to do that because I know it's going to help me get one step closer. I am going to be ready, all right? I'm going to finish every single thing that I start. I'm going to finish it. Even when the odds are against me, even when when I'm losing, I'm going to finish. Why? Because I know in finishing, not only am I going to gain more confidence and trust in myself, but I know there's so many more lessons that will benefit me in the future. That I'm not worried about the temporary loss. I know I can leverage the experience for future competition, all right? For future events, for future opportunities. I will finish everything that I start, all right? That's another thing, okay? And then the final thing is that I'm going to invest. I'm going to invest my time. I'm going to invest my energy. I'm going to invest in relationships. I'm going to invest in you who is listening to this show right now. I'm going to give everything I can to invest in you and add value, to give everything that I can, all right? Those are decisions that I'm going to make. And when things get tough, all right, when things are challenging, when I'm discouraged, when the outcome looks like, man, you're still really far away, I'm going to go back to those 3 decisions and I'm going to say, how do I invest? How do I finish what I'm started right here, right? How am I leveraging the fact that I'm ready, right? What can I do in this situation to maximize this opportunity? Because I was built for this, right? I've made those decisions. And so what ends up happening is who I am and where I want to go. Like those things show up, and that dictates everything more so than the circumstance and the environment around me. I will dictate that circumstance. I don't let the circumstance dictate me. And hear me when I say, I am not perfect at that, all right? Hear me when I say, like, there are times that absolutely the circumstances are overwhelming and I fall and I fail. But I also have people around me that pick me up. I also have people that I trust. In my view of other people and those people around me, I'm willing to lean out and know that the truth that they're willing to speak to me is going to help lift me up, and it's there for me and my benefit. Right? I trust that, okay? And so I want you to take action on that today. I want you to make those 3 decisions. And I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and you can reach out to us via any social media platform. You can reach out to us through our website. I want to hear from you. What are those 3 decisions you're making? And I want to hear from you in a month from now, in 2 months from now. How has that benefited your life? Again, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so what are you willing to do, and what are you willing to change? What are you willing to take action on? That's the question today, all right? And so I just want to wrap this up and say I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. If you're watching this, again, if you've enjoyed this, if this has been beneficial to you, please share it with teammates, coaches, fellow parents, right? Fellow leaders, okay? Our goal with this Heads or Tails podcast show, I keep screwing that up, this show is that we really want to add value and support you, okay, in being the best you can be, the best teammate, the best athlete, the best coach, the best leader in whatever space that's in. And with this, we want to keep bouncing back between, the head part of the mindset, the individual. We've talked a lot about that mindset, as of the last couple episodes, okay? But also the flip side of the overall mentality and how that aligns to an overall team or organization, okay? We're going to keep flipping back and forth, all right? And what I want you guys to do is, please, if this has been beneficial, share this. Get this out. We want this to be a resource for you. We want to be a support for you. And we want you to keep chasing down the greatness that's within you, all right? And so, again, thank you so much, guys. We're going to wrap this up. We're trying to keep it around 30 minutes. We've enjoyed this. If this has been a benefit to you, please let us know, share it, and we will catch you the next time on the Heads or Tails show. Thank you.